Oh, I'm not.
Yep. Cool. Should be the tagline.
We already started, so you can't talk about the tagline. What is up, guys? This is Quarter Recall, a live show where we take a look back at what's going on in popular culture this week 25 years ago. Movies, music, video games. We kind of talk about anything we can get our hands on. This is for the week of February 2nd until the 8th of 1997.
Big week.
Big week. Well, in some ways, yeah, it is a very big week. But before we blast to the past, Leo, is there anything you want to talk about for this week?
Well, I do want to mention you sound a little different this week. Something's going on with your voice there.
Yeah, I'm a little under the weather today, if you don't notice.
I didn't mean to draw attention to it, but just in case, there's any sniffles or Tony's a little out of it, that's why. And I appreciate you taking the time to hang out anyway.
We are in a time of extreme, sickness, anxiety, and it's so strange. So, I have a cold, right? I don't have a fever or anything. I'm just stuffy and cough and sneezing, right? But, they sent out these coronavirus tests to everybody. You got 4 per household. And I've taken 2 of them, and both of them were negative. And still I tell people, I took the test and they were negative. Did you do PCR? And I'm just like, no. And they're like, well, the ones they sent you were worthless. And it's just like...
Then why did you send them?
Yeah, why did they send them? And also, how far out of my way am I supposed to go to,
Yeah, just don't go outside and sneeze on anyone. You're fine.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just feel like people are so eager to prove they're sick. I don't know. I don't...
Yeah.
Take your home tests.
Yeah.
Get some rest,
Be sensible.
everyone. Be sensible. Wear a mask. I'm going to have to go out later and get some stuff. I'm going to have my mask on. I'm going to be safe. I'm going to use hand sanitizer. I'm not going to sneeze on anybody. Try and be good citizens, everyone, please. And outside of that, just, I don't know. I'm going to get canceled for sure.
For saying be a good citizen? Yeah. Very, very controversial.
It is very controversial, man. If you mention the social contract these days, you're it's a real touchy subject.
A real radical.
Yeah. All right, Leo, what did you get into this week?
Yeah, so I played an older game, not as old as what we'll be talking about here. I don't know if you heard about this, but a team of very talented modders put together this really extensive HD mod for Resident Evil 4 for the PC version, where they essentially redid everything, including all the textures, which I don't know the last time you played that game. I know you don't really like horror games, but it's a wonderful game. But it looks pretty ugly these days, even the HD version, because the texture quality is so low. But they literally went in and redid everything So it's much more extensive than the standard HD mod that someone will put on Nexus or whatever. So I've been playing that, and it's pretty extraordinary. Again, I'm always just a huge fan of when people put a lot of work into something for the love of the thing. That's all it is. I don't know if there's any financial benefit for them, but certainly a labor of love, and I'm really enjoying it. Because that game's awesome, and it's fun to come back to it every couple of years, and also just to see all that work. So I've been really enjoying playing Resident Evil 4 again.
Well, I can always count on you to play anything Resident Evil that comes out.
Yeah,
So
I'm a big fan. What can I say?
yeah, you can say that again.
And then I played a couple other things here and there. I've been watching the new season of Ozark. That's been pretty good. So that's pretty much what I've been up to. How about you? You've been sick? You've been using that time to consume some media?
Kind of. I've been in bed a lot, so
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been some watching TV. There's one game I've actually been playing quite a bit of this week and before I was sick. Have you heard of Vampire Survivors?
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. I haven't played it yet, but yeah, it's a big deal.
That shit is like the cocaine of video games. Like it is. It's so slight a game, right? And it's so like basic a concept, but that shit is great. It's such a good game. It's $3 on Steam.
I know.
Like
that's awesome. It's nice to see that.
No reason not to play it. Like even I think if you're not into it, you'll get a couple hours out of it and have a good time. But it is like the epitome of kind of one of these like score rush like RNG kind of games, and I think it's great. It's amazing. I've been having a lot of fun with it. Still playing a little Valorant, played a little Final Fantasy 14 yesterday, but being sick, it's been hard to like, I don't know, just sit at my computer and stare at the screen. I am excited for Lost Ark next week. That Lost Ark comes out finally. That's the Korean kind of Diablo style MMO. And so I'm pretty pumped up for that for next week. As far as television, what have I been watching?
It's hard when you're sick. It all kind of blends together.
It really does. I watched this football movie on Netflix about Sean Payton, but it's like an Adam Sandler comedy. I thought was pretty good, actually. Adam Sandler's not in it. Kevin James plays Sean. You know who Sean Payton is?
No, I mean I assume he's related to a Peyton.
He's the head. No, he's the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, or I think he still is. And he got suspended for a year for what they called Bounty Gate, which was they would pay players for like big hits or to injure other players, right?
Yeah, that does sound troubling.
Yeah, I mean I think it's probably super common in the NFL, but he got popped for it, and he got suspended for a season, and it's basically this kind of fictional off season where he coached like a Pop Warner football team that his son played for, his like son from a previous marriage, and it's funny and it's very sweet. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of one of those movies, and I love that shit. Like it really takes me back to like the 90s and like what was it, Little Giants and like all those like
Mighty Ducks,
kind of those feel good sports movies, right? Yeah, I'm all for that stuff. And of course, in the end, they learn that it's about having fun or what, like.
Yeah, it's about the power of togetherness and friendship.
Yeah, it's great. So I watched that. And then I've been watching, like, I'm really into, there's this Chinese show. It's a Chinese drama. I think it's called Recall. And it's actually really good, too. It's about a girl who, she's on a bus and it explodes, and she enters like a time loop on the bus, right? Of it exploding, and like eventually she like gets off the bus, it gets someone else to get off the bus, and they kind of both enter this time loop, and it's very interesting. It's neat, and it's just weird because it's a Chinese drama, so it's such a different like perspective of television. It's been kind of fun to watch too, because I don't.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
I've watched a lot of Korean dramas, dude, thanks to Netflix and stuff, but I've never watched a Chinese one, so I think it's really interesting to kind of consume that content and check it out. So if you get a chance, I'd suggest Googling that one and seeing if you can catch an episode.
Is that also on Netflix?
No, you gotta find it through nefarious means.
Yeah, gotta get through the firewall.
Yeah, you gotta punch through the CCP firewall.
Hacksaw the box.
Yeah, you gotta break through the red curtain like Google 13 and fucking find out what's going on.
Or just Google it. That works too.
Googling it does in fact work. If you're not Google 13. All right, let's get back in time
Back to the past.
Back to 1997. I know you guys are watching the commercials already. You're having a good time. You're enjoying this stuff. Not a lot of games released this week. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay? Next week, we got a banger of a game that came out. Or like
nice.
A fucking once-in-a-lifetime quintessential game came out next week. Right? But this week, not so much. So we had one release this week. It was an arcade game called DoDonpachi. Let's get into it. Ooh. So you'll see some gameplay pop up now. It's a kind of like one of those bullet hell shooter kind. How would you describe this kind of game? Like
and that's what they're called now. Is bullet hell.
Yeah, we didn't call it that then. Like 1942 and Let's watch a little gameplay while we get into it.
Yeah, I love this.
I love this too. Just the whole.
Yeah.
With just like the crazy weapons and like. So we'll see. Okay, we couldn't find a trailer for it. That's why we're not watching a trailer.
Yeah, I don't know if arcade games had trailers.
That I can.
When I say I don't know, I mean like I generally don't know. Maybe they did, but I don't remember that ever being a.
I mean, there probably are some like reels they put out on tapes for like industry events and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think they had traditional trailers.
This is rad.
Banging. I kind of want to put this on me and play it.
Right? Yeah, no, totally. So what was your experience with this type of game? Because for me, it was, I always loved looking at them. Like, they were so fun to play. I tried to get into some of the really well-known ones. Like I've tried Ikaruga. R-Type a little bit, which, again, there's the top-down and then there's the side way, right? Like G-Darius or whatever, and R-Type and Einhander and all of those. But I've never really, it's definitely been a genre that I've always wanted to get into and never actually have. So what about you? Did you ever spend a lot of time playing any games like this?
Not a lot of time. I mean, I wish I spent more playing them because I do think they're really cool.
They are cool. They're very pure.
They're very pure, but there's definitely this like they're so difficult. You know what I mean? And I think like making them click is really hard. I think it takes a type of player.
Yeah.
And also the perspective doesn't really mesh with like at-home hardware. You know what I mean? Like this is a game you want to play in an arcade on a vertical screen, and like, you know, I guess you could swap your, your monitor and make it vertical.
Yeah. But, and people do. I remember when Ikaruga came out on, I don't know if the Dreamcast version could do it, but I know the GameCube version actually had a mode in the options menu where it was like, do you want to flip your television sideways? And it would actually emulate that mode, which is kind of cool. And it just goes to show, like, that was for home hardware. So the kind of person who got really into Ikaruga is the kind of person who would actually flip their TV sideways. Back when they were CRTs even.
Yeah, come up with some crazy mounting solution to flip the TV on its side. Yeah. I wish I'd liked these games. I wish I played these games more because they are cool.
Yeah, me too.
I was never good at them. And I think that makes it so hard, right? Like, and you can...
Yeah, and that was never big in the arcade scene, too. I think if it really clicked with you and your friends in the arcade, like, kind of like the stories you tell of fighting games for you, I could see how having home versions could be pretty cool, but I just never had that.
Yeah, and I think, I think a reason these games have a hard time in America is our arcades are so expensive, right?
Yeah.
Like, if there's one thing I keep hearing, like, my girlfriend's from Japan, and so I talk to a lot more people from Japan now, just kind of through her, and they're just always surprised what things cost at like arcades here, like claw machines, and video games, and it's like, oh, that's like a 10 yen, like a dime to do these things, right? And we're just like 50 cents or like $4 for a crane game pole. They're like, that's 100 yen, like standard for any crane game in Japan.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I think that it kind of discourages like people from playing these games that really have a big investment. I think, even like Metal Slug and stuff, like, I think that's why they're a little less popular, because they're so difficult. But, if the price of admission wasn't so high, it might be a little more popular here.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I don't think I ever knew that the price differential was so substantial.
Yeah, I mean, they don't use quarters there. Like 10 yen pieces are more like standard denomination people carry. So, you look at games as like 10 cents, 20 cents, right? Instead of 25, 50 cents like we would here, right? And
Yeah.
as a kid, it's a ton of money. You know.
Oh, it's only.
Yeah. Stuff.
That's cool.
Low cost
Yeah,
stuff
this
is
looks great though.
Yeah, it does. It looks amazing, especially for the
Yeah.
era, right? Like, this is like the epitome of like arcade hardware just being badass compared to playing this on a, you know.
Yeah, Super Nintendo or PlayStation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just the sheer amount of on-screen particle effects and like the sprites are so enormous. I do miss that era.
Yeah, looks great. Awesome game.
And the thing is, when you watch someone who's obviously really good at this play it, it looks really easy, right? Because they're not getting hit. And you're like, oh, it's simple enough. And then you try and play it, and you make it like literally 20 seconds in.
Yeah, it's fucking.
No, it's very misleading to watch high-level play of these games.
Yeah, and it's fucking impossible. Yeah, it's so funny.
It looks cool though. We'll have to check it out. Maybe get MAME up and running.
Yeah, it does look cool. And there's like a ton of sequels to this game, so it was fun kind of reading about it, and kind of what DoDonpachi is.
And what it means too. I looked it up. It's kind of cool. It's like a reference, I think, to something. It's a reference to the sound that an angry bee makes, and sometimes that's also a reference to gunfire in the vernacular.
Yeah, Japanese is a language of metaphor. You know, like everything is like, you know, gunfire is the sound of a bee. You know, and like,
yeah, which makes sense, right? They're like, what does that sound like? Oh, let's call it that.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, I think I think with Asian languages, it relates to the way that they write language too. The way they approach language is very like visual representative, right? That's why they use like kanji and characters. So it does make sense that their words themselves would be metaphorical as well as the way they write them in shapes.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some movie trailers now. I got a few of these ones. I mean, there's always movies coming out, so there's no shortage of
especially then.
Yeah, especially then. All right, let's get these rolling.
Let's do it.
Oh, you guys got a spoiler of this one.
I love the spoiler. It's like a Twitter trailer, right?
It is like a Twitter trailer. It's like a Reddit video where it just starts playing at some point and you don't know.
Yeah, whether you want it to or not.
Once upon a time, a beautiful maiden left her home to seek her fortune in a foreign land.
Well, where is she? Where is the
Timothy
teacher?
Dalton.
Oh, Mr. President, please don't judge me
Fran
like this.
Drescher.
It's
Oh
just
my
a
God.
dog in this
I thought she was so hot. I thought she was like the hottest lady.
For putting on liquid liner.
I mean, she is very pretty.
She's very pretty.
I heard.
This teacher is a loose cannon.
Could I possibly
A loose cannon.
without a head?
My children are growing up in a different world than me. You must help them face a new century.
If you've earned 18,000 frequent flyer miles, but it takes 20,000 miles to go from Miami to Scottsdale.
I thought you taught science.
Teach it.
Again, this trailer sucks. Just as far as like the way it's constructed.
So I found like a 30-second like teaser of this, and then the long form trailer like this. This is definitely more interesting.
Guess who could get a word in edgewise?
You do it again!
This
Fran
woman
Drescher's a
would
fox,
destroy
man.
the country.
Very 90s.
I love it.
I mean, I know they did it up on purpose, but yeah.
Ooh. It's the only job you can get yourself.
Do I not intimidate you at all?
Oh, God.
One of your sideburns shorter than the other. You don't have to be a tyrant to have people follow you.
I watched this
But you
movie.
just
I
trust
remember
me.
watching
You know,
this.
Sonny Bono
Really?
shaved off
Yeah,
his
it's
mustache, and now he's a congressman.
I was a Fran Drescher fan, bro.
You were a fanboy. That's all.
Paramount Pictures proudly presents
You better be careful, a girl.
You see
could
that
get
screen
used to
wipe?
this.
Yeah.
Like she has.
I was always into like
Fran Drescher,
You remember
womenly women when I was a teenager. I don't know why. I think it says a lot about my psyche.
Timothy Dalton,
Talk to the hand.
Oh my God.
Cute,
Talk to the
The
hand.
Beautician,
Oh.
and The Beast.
Talk to the hand was a great joke. Okay.
Whoa, that's interesting. I don't think you can get away with that
I always
shot.
wanted to do that.
I don't think you can get away with a lot of this stuff. Yeah, in the modern era.
Yeah. Making that dude look like Stalin, and then that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty funny. And yeah, man, I was a big Fran Drescher fan. I definitely saw this movie. I mean, maybe I rented it from Blockbuster or something, but I definitely saw it. You know.
You went out of your way.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I had to see the new Fran Drescher joint, right? That's the nanny, bro. I got to see the nanny.
Yeah, I remember her. I don't think I ever saw the nanny, or I'm sure I saw it in syndication or whatever. But I knew who she was. I was never like I never followed her career as closely as you. But yeah, it's fun to see her now just because she was such a household name at the time and
Yeah.
such a character actor. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even that, like, even being that much of a character in like modern era, I don't know if it would like. You could do it for a movie that needed it, but to be like that's my whole personality, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit like I'd say like kind of Ryan Reynolds maybe is sort of in that ballpark. You know, he's basically Deadpool and everything. But you're right, it's not to that degree with the thick accent and the
Well, and it's not representative like an ethno state, right? Like I think it's one thing if you're like I'm the hot guy, sarcastic, or you know what I mean, or even something like that. But to be like to have it be so ethnocentric, I think is I wouldn't say it's troubling. I think it's funny, right? I just think we have a sensitivity to that kind of thing now that we might not have had at the time, right?
Yeah, I mean it is very simplified.
Yeah.
And again, not necessarily a bad thing always, but
yeah, it's not a positive representation in any way, right?
No. Well, I mean, you make the character likable. I mean, like that trailer we just watched, the whole thing was very simplified, right? It's like, here's a dictator of some European state. And it's like, okay, what the hell does that mean? I'm sure the movie doesn't get into the politics of it, you know? They're just using the iconography. And that's kind of what she is, too, you know? She's like a... Yeah, and there's, again, simple. Nothing wrong with that necessarily, but I think we do demand a bit more complexity now, which is probably a good thing.
I don't know. I enjoyed a simpler time. You know, like, it made things easier to like when we weren't,
you didn't have to think about it.
and we just didn't expect so much, right? Like, I think our expectations are so high that it does, like, you know, there was also good art being made at the time. It wasn't
for sure.
It wasn't like this, I think people want to consider us so dumb now because we all like Avengers, right? But you look at the movies of the 90s and it's like, no, we were like real dumb then.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't think that's I don't think having dumb entertainment was a bad thing or detrimental to society as a whole.
Absolutely, and it's still not.
No. All right.
As long as it's not only dumb, which has never really been the case. Yeah.
I don't know. That movie's kind of only dumb, but let's keep this rolling.
Yeah.
The Scottish mob.
Oh, no.
There was a Scottish.
I love these Twitter trailers.
Yeah, these things keep hopping forward. I got to get better at the...
No, it's kind of fun because I still have no idea what it is, although I think I do know, actually.
No, this is a different trailer. It skipped this one.
Oh, okay.
This one's very short.
It turns day into night.
I like it so far.
Air into fire.
This is a short hit, so...
Nothing in the world can compare to its power.
Fran Drescher.
The most awesome sight you will ever see. Maybe
a stick.
Your last.
So scary.
In the town of Dante's Peak, a volcano is turning nature into a nightmare.
Come on!
Come on! Why won't the stupid truck drive over the lava?
I love these like model buildings falling.
Linda Hamilton.
Woo!
It's funny because this is very like Universal Studios tour, like
very
the special effects. You know, it was
the pressure.
It was really before they could use CG well to like manage these practical effects, and so you just have these like, here is a portion of street getting destroyed, and it's like, oh, this is all facades. Like you can, you know, like it's not.
Yeah, with like superimposed smoke effects.
Yeah, and just electricity, like you know, like power wires sparking across everything, because it's like we could do that, you know.
That we could do.
That we can do.
Well, and you remember this, and this happened a few times, and I'm sure still does. But when because this and Volcano came out around the same time, and I remember that was the first example in my childhood, at least, of being like, what the hell's going on? Was that intentional? And by all accounts, it was not. And I remember seeing Volcano in theaters, but I don't think I ever saw Dante's Peak. But it is funny. We were just really into volcanoes for a week or a month in February of 1997. I don't know if there's been a movie since about a small town getting. I guess LA is not a small town in Volcano, but like something we were into briefly and then kind of moved on.
Yeah, volcanoes, and then we had the double meteor or asteroid movies, right? Like,
yep, Deep Impact and Armageddon.
Yeah, oddly hitting at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I feel like both of those instances always come up as like this, like, this kind of, I don't know, like this coincidental release, or I don't know if it's coincidence. I don't know if there's some secret plot to double release themes like that, but yeah, it was very funny. And I do remember seeing Dante's Peak as well. I've always loved movies, so I feel like I've seen most of this stuff we
yeah, no, that's cool. I feel like I haven't, just because I should say I didn't, and I think I mentioned this before, but I didn't have a TV growing up until I was a little bit older. I think probably like 6th grade or something, which is around this time. But I didn't have, I didn't grow up with a lot of these movies. So, like, kind of, for example, The Nanny is an example of something I kind of would have missed. But I remember seeing all these trailers and like knowing who all the actors are. It's interesting. There's been 2 James Bonds already.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a third.
I don't think Lazenby shows up.
I don't think Roger Moore is going to be in the next one, but you never know.
Daniel Craig as a child.
I was full on latchkey, so I was like in front of the TV all day, like renting. We would just go rent a bunch of movies, and that was kind of my
Hollywood
babysitter
Video
for the week. Yeah, Hollywood Video or Blockbuster. We had they're both different directions, right? That was definitely a big part of my childhood. All right, let's watch this next one. This one's gonna be an issue. Let's go.
All right, the song. No.
He's the Sultan of Scam.
Oh.
They call him the Pest.
Stop repeating what I'm saying. I mean it.
He's after some fast cash.
Where's my money?
I'll have the money for you. What's the day after today? Tomorrow? Tomorrow!
And the only way he's going to get it...
Join me for a little gentlemanly hunt.
Oh, goody. What are we going to hunt?
...is to let them hunt him.
If you survive for 24 hours, you get $50,000.
$50,000?
Now.
Oh, God.
He's got to escape the German hitmen.
Could I do that again? I was looking to the wrong thingy.
Outsmart the Scottish mob.
I didn't know there was a Scottish mob.
Captain, I cannot do it. The lithium crystals are breaking up. She's gonna blow.
And blow away the competition.
Mom? 23,000 like my bills to walk. Take one down. Pass it. Bark like a dog.
TriStar Pictures and the Bubble Factory presents John Leguizamo as
I'm in like a constant, very tense right now.
I've got the upper hand, gentlemen.
I know, it's
What's
fun.
to keep me from shooting you right now? Ow! Oh!
Oh my God! I hope we don't get flagged for that song again.
Yeah, we probably will actually, because it's that exact song got us flagged last time.
Yeah, that was rough. I don't even know where to start with that. First of all, that actor, not John Leguizamo, but the other actor. Talk about troubling, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was horrible, and really pretty cool in terms of representative of a certain style of comedy in the 90s that I think is completely unwatchable now. This reminds me of like Ace Ventura and The Mask. But way worse than both of those.
Way worse, right? Like how...
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That like manic energy, but like just not funny at all. Ugh.
Yeah, and just these like swings into like racist characters that aren't like funny. Like they're not jokes. He's not doing jokes. He's just like, look at me. I'm
what
Chinese.
If I pretended to be Chinese and say something stupid that a Chinese person wouldn't say? That'd be fucking funny.
Yeah, like the joke is that it's like, haha, Chinese people, or like, haha, Jewish
Chinese people exist.
Yeah. And
can you believe this?
Yeah, and it's wild that was like, this is a trailer that was on television and in movies, and we all thought it was like thing.
It was accepted.
Yeah, it was not only accepted. It was. I mean, this movie probably did okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that'd be interesting actually to look up. Maybe going forward for ones like that, it might be interesting to look up the performance actually, because that would be kind of an interesting insight.
I mean, I have the Wikipedia linked here in the doc. Let's see what it earned.
Because I bet it did okay. Yeah, I don't think it did like Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey numbers, but I mean, it never got any sequels as far as I know.
This one didn't do that good. It got
Okay.
$3.6 million in the box office with an $8 million budget.
Oh.
I mean, that doesn't include like DVDs and all that stuff. Like,
there were no DVDs.
VHS tapes. It doesn't include the rental market, right? Which is probably where this kind of movie made its.
Yeah, a long tail. People are still renting VHS copies of The Pest.
I mean, I hear about this movie.
No, totally.
Not all the time, but it's still in the public consciousness. It's not like it's some secret, like, unknown film.
And I think it is because it's so representative of an era, and really the terrible excess. That's a great example of like, if you want to talk shit about the 90s, here, look at this trailer.
Yeah, here's I think the IMDb. Mick LaSalle, I don't know, of San Francisco Chronicle said of Leguizamo's performance, obviously someone must have told Leguizamo he's a comic genius. Whoever did that wasn't a good friend.
Well, it's not just him though. Like, someone wrote that script.
Yeah,
or maybe he wrote it. I don't know, but it's like that's what always sticks in my mind. Like, someone sat down, a writer, and wrote this down, more or less, assuming it's not all improv. So it's not like just his fault.
So he did. He wrote the story. He did not. He did not write the screenplay. So
okay. Well, there you go.
So I guess you could blame that guy. But
no, if he wrote the story, he probably had say in the script. You know, like
I assume
this was a John Leguizamo vehicle.
Yeah, I assume someone was trying to rein it in the screenplay, and he was like, "No, I'll do this part where I'm Chinese."
And this is
right.
Yeah, I'm Jewish. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, this will be so funny.
Well, and it's interesting because I think this is, and maybe we'll come to this at some point. I hope so. I think this was the same year, roughly the same year that Romeo and Juliet came out, and he was in that too, which is still has kind of that manic energy, but very different.
Well, I think it's well harnessed in that.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Like the same energy, but put to good use.
Yeah, like I think you can, you can use something like that to do something that's good, right?
Yeah.
It's not like he's irredeemable as a presence or something, right? But
it is. This could have been a career killer. Like, if I saw that trailer, which I just did, I would be like, well, that man will never succeed, and he did. Yeah, I don't know if he ever became like A-list, but he pops up from time to time, and I'm sure he lives in a very nice house.
Yeah, I'm sure John Leguizamo's done fine for himself.
Yeah.
No, Romeo and Juliet released in '96, November 1st, 1996.
Oh, so before this.
Before this. This is on the heels of
Seems
Romeo's.
So much more modern. Yeah, that's surprising to me.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
Yeah, I remember loving it. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember really liking it a lot.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those movies I don't think I would want to watch again, because I think it would kind of ruin something I thought was good.
Maybe. You never know with 90s movies. Sometimes you'll watch it and be like, oh, that was awesome, even better. Or you'll be like, that's done.
I think I'm more likely to find something I hated in the 90s interesting than I am to find something I liked in the 90s good. You know what I mean? I can't think of a lot of 90s movies I've come back to and been like, yeah, that's a real banger,
I will say, I watched Hackers not too long ago, and I still love it. And I was not expecting to. I thought it was going to be really terrible. And it's charming, but I still think it's a genuinely pretty awesome movie. So you never know, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a couple. Like Jurassic Park's still wonderful.
Yeah, Jurassic Park holds up really well, I think.
Yeah, that's a wonderful movie. All right, let's look to this last trailer, and then we can chit-chat some more.
Castle Rock.
This shit's so cringe. Like, I've watched this trailer.
I'm excited. That's Ribisi.
Sorry if the volume's a little quiet. It's just what it is.
It's okay.
I meant to the listeners, not you.
Get me all upset here.
Sorry.
I have not seen this movie.
Look at us. We all dress the same.
Eating the yogurt.
We all talk the same.
Checking their voicemail.
We all watch the same TV.
Shaving the bikini line. Sometimes I just want something different, you know?
A record scratch, man.
Tony's coming here to the corner?
Yeah, I just the whole. I mean, maybe it's because we're old now, but just this whole concept of like mid to early 20s angst about like, you know, the normies, right? Like it's just so dumb.
Yeah.
I shot my TV. You still living at your mom?
I shot my TV.
Yeah, fucking so edgy, bro.
He's got everything, and you've got nothing.
But I probably would have loved this at the time, you know? It was perfect for me because I was a dumbass, edgy teenager.
Yeah, I think if you're younger than these people and you look up to them, like, man, like...
And there's something powerful about being like, hey, fuck society.
Kind of.
It feels very powerful at the time.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it feels powerful.
It's this tar pit of stupidity that we're all stuck in.
That was pretty funny.
You don't belong here. No, you don't belong here. We were here before you.
What are we doing, Jeff?
What the hell was that? That was so weird.
Yeah.
L.A. Oh, that's nice. They have many convenience stores there for you to stand in front of.
I've been making fun of Indian people for working at convenience stores as an age-old tradition. So
it's a very 90s tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what the hell was that? What was that about?
Nothing.
Yeah, just shitty teenagers, I guess.
Yeah, just being a shitty teen, right? Or like they're in their 20s, I assume. Like, you know, they're out of high school, their friend became a rock star or something.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, you should go to college. You're like, no, man, fuck college.
That's what the man wants you to do, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's an age-old tradition. I'm sure they still make movies like that, you know? We just don't see them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm sure. Well, I don't, you know, it's weird. Like, I was listening to Jim Gaffigan on a podcast, and he was just saying, like, you know, it's weird for him because he has, you know, teenagers now, like, their counterculture is, like, wokeness. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is so strange, right? Because, you know, I wouldn't say I'm very woke, like, for sure, right? But it is strange to have this counterculture, like, framed on, like, empathy. You know what I mean? It's very different from, I think, what we thought was cool or, you know, we were like, fuck society, get bitches, like, you know what I mean? Like sex, drugs, rock and roll, fuck society was like the thing. Like if you weren't having sex, if you weren't partying, if you were like down with the man, you were not cool, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's like so different. You know, it's all cops are bastards. I guess that's kind of the same. But
yeah, that is definitely the same.
But we weren't worried about the homeless
things never
or
change.
equity. You know what I mean? Like that was definitely not part of our rally cry. So I think that's very different. But yeah, that was our trailers.
Yeah, you know what that movie made me think of is, I'm sure you have seen it, but I'd be curious the last time you've seen The Breakfast Club, because that movie, when I watched it, you know, I was around that age, and it did feel like, yeah, it's kind of, you know, touches on something that I think all teenagers do go through, and it's part of growing up. But I saw it relatively recently, or it was just on TV, and I was like, dude, this movie sucks. It's so, like, clearly written by someone who's pretending to be a teenager. Like, this is what teenagers think. And it's just, like, it's just really hard to give a shit about, like, stereotypical teenagers as you get older, you know? You just don't care anymore because you're like, yeah, I already did all that. And this is also, like, a very unsubtle version of that really is very surface level, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been thinking about that movie because I want to watch it again. I was thinking about watching it recently because I don't know where it came up. Like I saw it on, I think there was like one of those Netflix, like, you know, 90s movie, like documentary things that they had that it was on. And I was like, oh, that like, I remember seeing it when I was young and thinking it was pretty good. But not watching it as an adult. And maybe it was the one about Dirty Dancing and it had some reference to it. I don't remember, but yeah, I can see how. I feel like they do that. It's so hard to write young people because young people can't write in that way, right? Like young people,
because young people are stupid. And again, if any young people watch, I don't mean you personally. I certainly was too. Like that's just how it is.
And youth is so complicated. Like, it's so nuanced and haphazard and like
internal
for
so
sure.
much internal struggle. It's very hard to articulate that in like an external way that doesn't feel very either shallow or obnoxious, frankly. Because anyone that's self-absorbed, like again, I certainly was. It's just hard to care about that person or be interested in their struggles.
Yeah, even I think of the movie Kids, right? Like,
oh yeah,
I don't even remember that movie. It's kind of the opposite of The Breakfast Club. Like, it's kind of written as this like dark character of teens and teen life and like sex and all these things. And it's like, yeah, teenagers have sex and like smoke weed and stuff, but it's also not like this. You know what I mean? Like, it's like teenagers are fucking weird dorks. You know what I mean? Like all of them, even the ones you think are cool when you're young. Like, you know, have you like ever hung out with teenagers as an adult and just been like,
yeah, I mean my family and stuff, and they're they're very nice, but yeah, for sure it's I'm
not saying they're bad
hard
people,
to care. No,
but they're just fucking dorks. Like, you know, in the scope of the real world, they would not be interesting to watch on a film, even cool ones, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah,
probably less so cool ones in a lot of ways.
Yeah, less so cool ones, right? And I think that's such a big part of it. It's like, yeah, we rode in the back of trucks and went to parties and drank beers and did coke every once in a while, or people caught someone having sex in the bathroom, or like those things did happen. But that was not like this like fast paced euphoria. You know, like everyone's into euphoria now, and it's like it's a fantasy, right? Like it's an Instagram fantasy of what teenage life could be if you were bad, right? And I think it's so funny when we try and like write that angst into film, or even 20-year-old angst into film. You kind of run into these things.
Yeah, totally. I mean, again, I think it's valuable to, if that's the story you want to tell, great. I just have less patience for it now than I used to. I'm just like, nah, I'm just not interested in young people's problems anymore, as sort of dismissive as that sounds.
We're some real curmudgeons. I think that's what they call us now. We're curmudgeons.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I guess we're curmudgeons, man.
It's all right. I like being a curmudgeon. It's kind of fun.
You've always been a curmudgeon, even when you were a teenager.
Kind of. Yeah, maybe that's true. I've always been a bit of a curmudgeon.
Well, I was thinking about when we were watching the Pest trailer, right? Because we're like, you don't get it. You're too old.
Silence,
it's like
speechless.
It's like
watching the Pest trailer.
I was speechless, and it did make me think. Is this how my mom felt when like I'd go to a movie aimed at my demographic? Was she just like
probably?
Like I do remember when I saw The Mask in theaters with her, and I'm sure The Mask is not aged well, but I don't think it's quite at that level of annoying. Maybe it is though. But I do remember getting out of the theater and me being like, that was cool, because I was a dumb kid, and her just being like, I'm never watching a Jim Carrey movie ever again, ever. And she was just like so mad. And I can see why now. And watching this as 35, which was probably roughly how old she was, I would not have enjoyed seeing The Mask, or especially The Pest, either. So it's just interesting how your frame of reference changes.
Yeah, but your mom does seem quite, like, I don't know what the word, enlightened in a way. You know what I mean? Like the no TV thing, and I think she had high expectations of, like, character assessments or whatever, right? Like
maybe.
I could see someone that wasn't into television and stuff being specifically offended by things like The Mask, where if you were watching Married with Children and you know what I mean, like it was kind of like, this is just, it is what it is,
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. It's kind of an extreme. It's like jumping into a pretty extreme pool with no experience. That's a fair point.
I think The Pest is specifically offensive, right? Like in a lot of ways it does things, especially now, especially considering like current sensibility, specifically offensive, right? Like, there's things I can kind of like give a break to, right? When you watch Rush Hour and Jackie Chan is using the N-word and stuff, it's like that's offensive specifically to this era, but I kind of understand in that time frame like why it was funny and why it made sense, and
it's not malicious.
It's not malicious. But watching John Leguizamo
feels very malicious.
Yeah, watching John Leguizamo with the bangs and the Chinese clothes on, and just be like, oh,
with the zoomed up
just
like fisheye lens.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, like that's not funny. You know what I mean? Like, there's no joke there. He was just like, what if I was Chinese? Like that was his idea of like a joke, and it's like, That's fucked
What
up.
What if I made fun of Chinese people and that's the whole thing?
Yeah, it's the whole thing. Like, get this. This is my next joke. I'm Chinese, and it's like,
Yeah,
that's
I remember there's a great episode of South Park where Cartman's pretending to be Chinese in a horrible way, as you can imagine. He goes to PF Chang's because that's where he thinks all the Chinese people are, and he's talking to this Chinese family, and he's doing basically what John Leguizamo was doing, and they're just like, why are you talking to us like this? Like, I don't understand. What are you trying to do here? Because they're just a family.
Yeah.
And that's funny, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what happens in the Pest.
Yeah, I don't think the aim there was to point out the ridiculousness of someone thinking it was funny to be Chinese.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, yeah. And
it's fascinating. Just no context.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Maybe we should watch The Pest.
Maybe we should. Maybe we should do a Pest cast and just only watch The Pest. All right, that's it for movie trailers. For music, I mean, Toni Braxton cleaned up. She's still number one, and she will be for a few more weeks.
Basically, the whole year.
Not the whole year. We got a song coming up at the end of February. But, like, for a few more weeks, "Unbreak My Heart" was still popping off the charts. It's a great song. I mean, we've both been entranced by the song for weeks now since we started this.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned it on here while we've been live, but that song we talked about it at length last week, and I talked then how it would always get stuck in my head at the time, and it has been stuck in my head for the entire week. So I don't really like the song now as much, maybe because it's been stuck in my head for 2 weeks, but there's no question that it is an insanely catchy song.
I love it. I sing it in the shower. I love the video.
Yeah, totally.
I love everything about it. I want to listen to it now. When we get off the show, I'm gonna listen to it.
Yeah, definitely wait till we get off the show. I think we're already in jeopardy from
the
Macarena trailer.
I'm pretty sure that part's gonna be muted. So luckily we weren't talking during the Pest trailer. So if you don't hear anything, you didn't miss anything. But
yeah, exactly. That's not audio you needed to hear.
Let's just say we've already been muted for using the Macarena in a video, and I think it's gonna happen again. Leo, is there anything else? Any other beautiful memories of 1997 you'd like to throw in before we get out of here?
No, but one thing I am looking forward to, hopefully if people start engaging with us, is hearing how we're wrong. Like if there are, or just different experiences. Like if someone grew up as a kid and loved The Pest, or it was an important movie, or I'm really excited to have conversations about this because it really is just our opinions. So, if anyone is watching this or checking in later or whatever, we'd love to hear some conversation around these.
Yeah, I definitely like I don't want anyone to think like when we dog on these movies or their sensitivities or anything that this is some reflection on people that like them in the time or maybe even like them now nostalgically, right? Like I think that there's room for that.
For sure.
For sure. Like your experience is your own, and like I think the thing that you pointed out that I think really makes sense is like, is there malice in what you're doing and how you're doing it? Like I think when in the Pest trailer, when John Leguizamo is like, "I'm gonna be Jewish, it's gonna be hilarious," like I think that's malicious, right? I think that it's kind of an attack on Jewish people, right? But if you watched it as a kid and you have some sentiment towards it, I don't think there's malice in that, And,
yeah, for sure.
And so, if we're dogging on something that you really like, let us know. But I don't think that it is somehow a reflection on anyone's character, including our own, right?
Well said. And I will also say, I'll be the first to admit, there's a lot of shit I like that if someone was like, "That sucks and it's terrible," I'd be like, "Oh, I know." Like, yeah, it is not our place, our purpose to judge people for liking weird shit from the 90s, because we'll be the first to admit we do as well.
And anybody that wants to start a Fran Drescher fan club, I'm all in.
You should.
I love Fran Drescher. It was Fran Drescher, and you know who else I really loved in the 90s? Rene Russo.
Wow.
I know.
You're a real interesting type.
Why? Like, what is up with that? I just can remember in my mind being like, wow, that's a sexy lady. Although, you know what? Like, even now, you know who I think is really, like, sexy? Jerry from Succession.
Yeah.
Like,
she's great.
She's a sexy old lady, man. Like, and she's powerful and like smart, super smart, and like strategic. And you're just like, I think everyone wants to like make fun of Roman for like having this like for being drawn to her, right? And it's like nah, man, like she's got it going on. Like I definitely get like that part. I get like in all of the reasons that he's like. Sorry, this is gonna turn into a Succession podcast, but
hey, man, could be worse.
In all the reasons that he's like a pervert and kind of gross, right? Like liking Jerry, I think is the most normal thing.
I agree
that he does, right?
And I think that's something we talked about. Is like I really think that whole relationship, as complicated as it is, feels very sort of human and real in a way that some other aspects of the show don't. So I agree with you. I've always liked her a lot and really enjoyed the way they did that.
Yeah, how could you not look up to Jerry, especially in that cast of characters, right? Like I think she is a beacon of like stability and intelligence and logic that like is severely lacking in that space, right? That still has some empathy to it. And
agreed.
And yeah, I love Jerry. So we can also start a Jerry fan club. Fran Drescher.
Jerry fan club. Yeah. And Fran Drescher. I'll figure out who I want to add to the mix.
Yeah, for sure. But these are our 90s heartthrobs. Although Jerry is modern, but she was around in the 90s too. And I'm sure she was a gem then as well.
No John Leguizamo, though. Not allowed.
Yeah, I feel like I should look up the actress that plays Jerry's name because I feel bad just calling her Jerry.
Next week.
Yeah, next week. J. Smith Cameron is her name. Oh, it's a cool name, too.
It is a cool name.
Yeah. All right, Jerry, thank you so much or J. Smith
for
Cameron.
listening.
Thank you so much for being amazing. Thank you guys so much for listening. We appreciate it. Yeah, subscribe. I think we're supposed to tell people to subscribe now. Like the video, do what you do.
All the YouTube stuff.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with a real banger because we got a game coming next week that I know we're going to have a lot to say about. So
nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the weekend.